Ban the books, ban the guns, ban the television, apps, radio, media, ban the right to protest, ban free speech, ban free thinking, but most of all, ban this Revolution review of the new Moonwalker album, Is This the World You Wanted?, which actually comes to us as a viewer recommendation. So thank you guys so much for recommending all of this protest music, revolutionary music. I look forward to adding all of these albums here on this reserved section just for your recommendations, including this one right here. So this is a great example of an album that just completely missed my radar. I had no idea that Moonwalker even existed, and now here we are doing a review. So if you guys are in the market for a political album that's sort of a indie alternative rock with a psychedelic twist, this is definitely the album for you. Also, speaking of vibes, like and subscribe if you like the vibe, check out the Patreon, as well as some of our other protest reviews. Definitely leave some comments down below about what you thought of this album, what you think of this review, and also hit me up with those recommendations. Alright, starting off with track 1, we have the song New God, which is basically just looking for a fresh start, a new God, a new entertainer, someone to save us from our current conventions. Because with our current existence of obedience, of money chasing, of always fitting the mold, this ain't it. We can probably do a little better. And we can blame all of our problems on the old stuff, on the old way of life, which might help future generations cope with some of our current actions and trajectories. So, I don't know. Just a thought. The second track, Ban This Song, is how we opened this video, talking about we should ban this, we should ban that, we should ban books, guns, apps, television, but also speaking out, opposing viewpoints, as well as anything that scares you or that you don't understand. So the song is told from the perspective of someone that's in power, so of course they have the authority to ban all of these things, but with that in mind, there's a few very interesting lines, again, speaking from that perspective, essentially saying that we are banning things like education and history so that the people don't know what's coming. We round them up and then we divide them into sections, because if we make them eliminate each other, then we don't have to spend any bullets on them doing that ourselves. Again, speaking from the position of those in power, because it's all part of the plan. We ban things, we cause division, we have them fight amongst themselves, and then things just kind of work out for the wealthy, for those in power, because you don't have the people coming together, putting up a unified front. The next song, Monopoly Money, is a very good song. I like it a lot, but I do have a few issues with it, which we will get to in a moment. First, what I like, of course, the song is called Monopoly Money, you know, talking about people that have just vast hordes of wealth, and with that wealth you can buy a plane, you can buy a politician, you can even buy your way into heaven. Not really. And those of us who don't have monopoly money were told that we would be able to afford a home, that we would have good careers, that we would one day retire. Some of us might join the military and we could live honorably, but then of course no one tells us about the human cost or the fact that basically society forgets about you as soon as the war is over, or at least we don't want to pay for your health care because you suffer health issues after being subjected to burn pits, and then we have to call in comedians like Jon Stewart in order to actually facilitate legislation to actually take care of those veterans, because sometimes a comedian actually does more work from an activism perspective than our own elected officials. But I digress. But the song does mention political violence, mostly as it pertains to the United Healthcare CEO incident, essentially giving the French Reign of Terror vibes that you have to instill fear into the hearts of those at the top, because otherwise they don't have any real reason to change what they are doing. They're already profiting off of everyone's labor, off of their existence, essentially. However, in current times, I would just like to point out that with this administration positioning itself the way that it is, they are just begging for someone to actually take more steps towards political violence. They are looking for every reason to deploy more troops to various cities or to expand the surveillance state with the help of Palantir. Of course, they're trying to label anyone even remotely associated with Antifa or even just the left as a domestic terrorist organization. So any action or attempt at political violence will actually just play directly into their hand. That's exactly what they want from us, and that's what they're trying to provoke with all of these actions. So Chris Hedges is actually a great reference for this. He advocates for instead boycotts, for general strikes, basically voting with your wallets, voting with your money, because money is the language that they speak, and that is where they will get hurt the most. And we've already seen this work a few times, actually. We've seen workers get better pay, get better benefits, whether it's the dock workers, Amazon, Boeing, probably so many others that I'm not even aware of. So boycott those businesses, cancel those subscriptions, be more mindful of where you spend your money, and we will be able to actually put up a more effective resistance non-violently, and that will do wonders for the cause going forward. The next track is actually the title track, Is This the World You Wanted? And honestly, this is an incredible track. This might actually be my #1 recommended song from the album. So if you only take the time to listen to one song from this Moonwalker album, definitely check out Is This the World You Wanted? It basically tells the story of a man who goes home, he sits on his TV, and he fights for his country. He's so involved in the media, he's so involved in the narratives that are told to him that it makes him hate the immigrants. He blames all of his problems on the immigrants. And of course, those people are not so different from himself. They're probably in the same tax bracket. They probably have so many commonalities between them versus the people on the television, in the media, those in positions of power, those with vast fortunes of wealth. And this guy spends so much time being pissed off at everything that eventually, later down the road, he ends up having a heart attack because all of that anger caught up to him over all those years. As the song goes, he hates to see a change, he hates what he doesn't understand, and he hates you if you don't look like him. He feels small until he comes home and he turns on the TV and he fights for his country. That line is so good because I really feel like it encapsulates so much about just the modern psyche of some people in this country. And I'm not saying that you can't have a good faith discussion about immigration and about just the state of your country, especially going forward. I'm just saying that when it comes to people that just purely hate those that they think are beneath them, or people that they are told to hate, that they are told to fear. And you see this all the time, unfortunately, because the propaganda is so prevalent that these people actually think that they're being so patriotic in their worldview, but sometimes being detrimentally patriotic is actually just anti-human at the end of the day. And the next track, Revisionist History Blues, is another really good song talking about the revisionist history of the United States, where MLK was not shot by the FBI and where every war was justified. A history where criminals cannot be president and politicians only represent the people that elected them. And a history where we don't work ourselves to death for a CEO that we never met. So good. That song is so good. I like it a lot. And later on it goes on to mention more again, how soldiers come back and society just forgets about them. It also touches on the wealth gap a little bit more. Now the track Angel Wings is a bit depressing and honestly quite infuriating. It's about the disparity between the wealthy and the poor when it comes to their inevitable passing. For instance, all the children that pass away from war, famine, disease, lack of medication, lack of basic necessities, sometimes even just a basic lack of education. Instead of tangible action or legislation or any kind of safety net or any kind of guidance that may have prevented that death in the first place, but instead we bestow upon them our thoughts and prayers. 'Tis the best we can do. But of course, when it comes to the rich and powerful passing away, they're all saints, they've all done incredible things, they helped so many people, and they deserve every ounce of sympathy from everyone all the time. Next, we have the track World's Smallest Man, which describes someone who is just riddled with insecurities, and the insecurities lead to hate, and the hate leads to suffering. And he just hates everybody. He hates people from the places that he would never go. He hates them because they tell him so. Again, they being the people in the media, those who are pushing the narrative. Again, that immigrants or just people that are different from you, any other kind of minority, is to be hated, is to be ridiculed. And of course, this very insecure man was raised to hate because nobody is born racist, or a bigot. This is a learned behavior from your environment, and such an environment might just turn you into an insufferable, shitty person for really no fault of your own, but still, if you continue into adulthood and you carry on all of that baggage, it can be hard to deprogram, but at the same time, I don't know, it's a whole thing. The next track, Take the Money, is exactly what Bill Burr did when he went to that comedy festival over in Saudi Arabia. But besides that, this song is about the spectacle of politics, the debates that happen on the screen or on the stage. Meanwhile, the working class is struggling economically. And again, this is sort of a current theme found on the wall in general, especially even still in 2025. But there's a lot of talk on this song about both sides being really bad. You know, the Democrats, the Republicans, two sides of the same coin, two wings of the same bird. Because of course both parties deal with corruption, lobbyists, they pass legislation that is against our interest. Neither side is cutting down the debt, neither side is defunding the war machine, neither side is actually helping us with healthcare. But again, I would stress that that is the historical model. We are in a very different time now when we have an administration that is literally doing everything to smack up against every guardrail we have. They are enriching themselves in some of the most disgusting and overt ways. They're not even trying to hide it. We now have a bloated budget for ICE. We bombed Iran. Now we're going after Venezuela. We are sending troops to American cities, saying that anyone on the left is the enemy, that we need to beat the hell out of them. It's just a lot. So it's like, at the same time, we all need to get the fuck together and again vote with our wallets, vote with our actual vote, and use our voices to make sure that those guardrails hold. So currently, right now, as the Democrats are not doing nearly as much as they could be, their message is still very weak. We still have to do everything we can to bust back against this runaway authoritarianism, because if we don't, it's only going to get worse from here. We've already seen this play out numerous times, and it's only been, what, 10 months? Anyways, so at this point we are far away from normal time, so I don't think the whole left-right paradigm, both parties being the exact same, is something that can be easily mapped onto this current situation. The next track, Bored, is all about the melancholy of life, not really wanting to fight anymore, but also being set in your ways, being impervious to change, but also just how easy it is to hate, whether it's the other side politically or it's the people below you, when it's actually much harder to love the other side. And then the next song, Sleepwalker and the Dreams of Death, is also pretty interesting. This one's all about sleepwalking through life, living life on autopilot. None of your decisions are very complex. Everything's just kind of laid out for you. But something has to break, something has to change, and the push for change will only come when the pain of same is greater than the pain of change. So complacency, taking the path of least resistance, that is to be avoided. Sometimes you have to face those struggles head on if you want to actually improve your current circumstance, which is also a similar concept to the final track, Savior Season, which again touches on the passing of time. You might have friends and family, but deep down you feel empty, you feel unfulfilled. There's another really good line about how you won't see through your own eyes anymore because you are divided by fear and you bought the story that was sold to you. And so that concludes the review of this new album by Moonwalker, Is This the World You Wanted? Overall, I love this album. I love the sound. I love the alternative indie, funk, jazz, psychedelic twists. But above all, I love the message. This is an excellent album. It's actually going to be pretty highly rated. But before we get to the rating, there's many topics that are touched on in this album, from economics to the cost of living to the wealth disparity to the tendency to hate what you don't understand, what you don't care to understand, the lack of empathy, as well as crooked politicians and corporations, as well as just becoming complacent with your life, and the tendency for the top 1% or even the 0.1% to divide people so that they fight amongst themselves and they can continue to secure record-breaking profits year over year. Again, if there's only one song that you listen to from this album, I highly recommend the title track, Is This the World You Wanted? That song is just so good. It just hits a real critical point that I think is super important at this time. So when it comes to scoring, this will actually be the third highest album so far this year in 2025. This one's coming in with a 91% or an A-. Again, very good. And that puts it right behind Jer and Grandson. Jer, with his album Death of the Heart, is still my #1 recommended album for the year. What I believe is the best political album of 2025, followed by Grandson and his album Inertia, another solid album. Now this one, Moonwalker, coming in third place so far. Not too shabby, if I do say so myself. But if you guys have heard this album, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you thought about this review. Of course, hit me up with other protest albums, revolutionary albums. Would love to add them to this wall here. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you like the vibe. Check out the Patreon and check out some of those other reviews that we have. So until then, guys, stay well, stay safe, stay informed, and we will see you on the next one. Later.